What if I told you that lasting 30 minutes in the bedroom isn't just unnecessary, it might actually be the very thing sabotaging your intimacy? Today, we are answering the controversial question, how long should a man actually last? I'm Dr. Christine Rodriguez, and here at the Men's Vitality Hub, we focus on the intersection of clinical science and the lived experience of men over 45. My mission is to help you reclaim your confidence by stripping away the myths that create performance anxiety and replacing them with biological truths. I've spent my career as a researcher and clinician, and I can tell you that most men are measuring their worth with a stopwatch that was calibrated by fiction, not reality. There is a specific desirability window backed by a major study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine that most men completely ignore, and knowing it could be the difference between a frustrated partner and a deeply connected one. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the exact number of minutes that 50 top experts agree is the sweet spot for satisfaction, and it's likely much shorter than you think. Before we get into the numbers, we have to address the invisible barrier to masculine vitality, the myth of the marathon stallion. Imagine your relationship is like a high-performance vehicle. If you try to redline the engine for an hour straight, you aren't proving how powerful the car is. You're just inviting the parts to overheat and fail. In the medical world, we see men every day who are suffering from performance burnout. They believe that if they aren't pushing for 30, 40, or 60 minutes, they've somehow failed as a man. But here's the biological reality. The female body has a response curve that is dictated by blood flow and nerve sensitivity. After a certain point, the very act that is supposed to bring pleasure begins to cause frictional fatigue. This isn't just an opinion, it's a physiological fact. When sessions go too long, natural lubrication decreases, and the brain shifts from a state of arousal to a state of distraction. Let's look at the hard data that should give every man over 50 a massive sigh of relief. A landmark study surveyed 50 members of the Society for Sex Therapy and Research. These are the doctors and psychologists who see the reality of thousands of couples. They categorized duration into 4 distinct buckets. First, they found that 1 to 2 minutes was generally considered too short for most couples to find a rhythm. However, and this is where it gets interesting, they rated 3 to 7 minutes as adequate. That's right, just 7 minutes. Even more shocking, they defined 7 to 13 minutes as the desirable window. But here is the micro cliffhanger, that most men never hear. These same experts classified anything over 10 to 30 minutes as too long. If you've been beating yourself up for not hitting the 20-minute mark, you may have been aiming for a goal that actually decreases satisfaction for your partner. Still with me? That shows you're serious about your vitality and ready to deconstruct the performance trap. To understand why more isn't better, we have to look at the neurochemical window. When intimacy begins, the brain is flooded with dopamine and oxytocin. This creates a state of heightened presence. However, the human brain can only maintain this intense focus for a limited amount of time. If the physical act drags on, the dopamine levels begin to dip, and the mental chatter starts to creep back in. I've had female patients tell me, "Dr. Christine, after 15 minutes, I'm literally thinking about what I need to buy at the grocery store." For the man, this often manifests as a loss of firmness or erectile fading because the body is physically exhausted. By age 50, your testosterone and blood flow aren't the same as they were at 20, and that's actually a biological advantage. Why? Because it forces you to move away from mechanical endurance and toward intentional connection. Imagine this scenario. You're focusing so hard on the clock that you're essentially divorcing yourself from the sensory experience. You're doing mental math or thinking about work just to stay in the game longer. This creates a vibe of absence. Your partner can feel that you aren't truly there with her. She can sense the tension in your body as you try to perform a task rather than share an experience. This is the hidden risk of the marathon myth. It kills the emotional resonance. When you embrace the 7 to 13 minute window, you allow yourself to be fully present. Your heart rate is more controlled, your touch is more deliberate, and your partner feels your focus. This attunement is what women actually report as the most satisfying part of intimacy, not the total minutes on a stopwatch. Still with me? We're about to pivot to the variety rule, which is the ultimate game changer for men over 45. Research published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that couples who engaged in variety-based sessions, incorporating at least 5 different types of touch or acts, reported satisfaction rates of nearly 90%. Compare that to couples who focused only on duration, where satisfaction rates were significantly lower. This is because the female body is a multi-sensory network. Only about 25% of women can reach a peak through penetration alone. The other 75% require a combination of pathways. If you spend 20 minutes on the one thing that only works for 25% of the population, you are statistically setting yourself up for a struggle. Let's talk about the long-term effects of shifting your mindset. When you stop obsessing over duration, your performance anxiety naturally drops. Lower anxiety means lower cortisol. Lower cortisol means your body can actually direct more blood flow to where it counts. I've seen men in their 60s who struggled with erectile dysfunction see their symptoms practically vanish once they stop trying to be marathon stallions. They realized that an intense connected 8-minute session was infinitely more vitalizing than a strained, anxious 30-minute one. You are essentially training your nervous system to stay in the green zone of pleasure rather than the red zone of stress. Now, I want to address the real concern: premature ejaculation, PE. There is a difference between normal average and a medical issue. Clinically, PE is defined as consistently finishing in under 60 seconds of penetration against your will. If you are in that category, there is no shame. It affects up to 40% of men, but if you are lasting 5, 6, or 10 minutes and feel like you're premature, that is a mindset error created by the media. You are actually right in the sweet spot of human biology. Connection is the quiet thread that binds two souls in strength. When you understand that 6 minutes is the global average for real couples, measured by actual stopwatches in international studies, you can stop the self-criticism and start the celebration. For my men over 50, remember that your age brings executive function to the bedroom. You have the patience that a 20-year-old lacks. You have the ability to focus on the slow build. The science of afterglow shows that the 10 minutes after the act are just as important for a woman's satisfaction as the act itself. This is where the oxytocin bond is solidified. If you've spent all your energy trying to last 40 minutes, you're likely too exhausted to provide that post-connection care. By aiming for the desirable window, you save enough energy to truly be there for the finish. Imagine your next intimate encounter. Instead of checking the clock in your head, you focus on the 3 pillars of vitality: presence, variety, and attunement. You spend more time on the warm-up because you know that's where her arousal lives. You keep the main event within that 7 to 13 minute desirable range. You'll find that you feel more energized, less depleted, and your partner feels more seen than ever before. This is the transition from being a performer to being a partner. True vitality is found in the joy we give to others. Are you starting to see how this all connects? Your health, your hormones, and your happiness are all tied to how you perceive your own body. If you're ready to reclaim your confidence and stop letting locker room myths dictate your life, hit that like button and join our brotherhood here at Men's Vitality Hub. We're building a community of men who value science over sensationalism. I want to hear from you in the comments. What was the duration myth you grew up believing, and how has it affected your confidence? I read every single comment, and your stories are what drive the medical deep dives we do on this channel. Before we go, I want to give you one practical next step. Tonight, I want you to try the clockless session. Don't look at the time before, during, or after. Focus entirely on the biological cues of your partner. Watch her breathing. Notice the tension in her muscles. When you stop measuring the quantity of the time, you'll find that the quality of the connection skyrockets. This is the vitality shift that changes everything. You have the wisdom of age. Now it's time to use it. Take care of yourself. Stay informed. And I'll see you in the next session.